Hello everyone, you are getting another box office prediction video on the go because right now I am sitting in a hospital because I'm welcoming a new member of the family into the world. So clearly I am dedicated to box office predictions because even that's not stopping me from getting this video done. Let's jump into it though, abbreviated version coming at you here. First up, Fantasy Movie League shout out. We only have one perfect lineup and it's the player. I suck again. I suck again. You don't suck again. You won last weekend. Congratulations to you. I was also kind of a winner last weekend because I went 5 for 5 with my predictions. The Lion King climbed higher than I expected, kicking off its run with $191.8 million, which makes it the highest opening weekend of July ever. I was also spot on with SpiderMan Far From Home, which took another $21.2 million to the bank. After that, it was Toy Story 4, which had an especially strong hold. Even with Lion King in the mix, it only dropped 25.8% and made another $15.6 million. Then at number 4, we had Crawl, which also had a very solid hold, especially for the horror genre. It dropped 49.2% and made another $6.1 million. And then yesterday closed out the top 5 again with another $5 million. Rolling into this weekend's predictions now, I'm going to stick with what I just said because I think yesterday is holding on to that 5 spot again. As much as I'm rooting for Crawl, I think it's going to wind up dropping enough to let yesterday stay in the top 5 again, especially when you go back and you see it pretty much lost 25 and 30% in the past 2 weekends. So even if we go in on the high end of that range, yesterday, if it loses 30% this weekend, it's still making another $3.5 million. Now moving on to number 4, this is where I have Toy Story 4. I've been using Toy Story 3 as my comp, but the last 2 weekends it did deviate quite a bit. So instead, putting my attention right now on Inside Out. That movie, 3rd weekend of July in 2015, it made a somewhat similar amount of money as what Toy Story 4 made last weekend. On top of that, it was also in its 5th weekend of release, and it had a very small drop. If I move ahead for weekend 6 of Inside Out, it had another small drop, only 36%. I think the same thing is going to happen with Toy Story 4 this time around, and if that's the case, it's making another $10 million this weekend. Next up at number 3 in the charts, that's where I've got Spider-Man Far From Home. Looking at this one's percent change trend, it dropped 51% in weekend 2 and then 53.3% in weekend 3, and that's even with the Lion King entering the competition. So I have a feeling this time around it's going to see a percent change in the same vicinity, maybe even a little lower than those 2 numbers. I kind of want to go with a 50% drop for this one. If that's what happens, it's still making another $11 million this weekend. Now we're moving on to number 2, and that is where I have our newcomer for the weekend. It's Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I actually think this is going to wind up being the biggest opening weekend for Quentin Tarantino ever. At this point in time, that record belongs to Inglourious Basterds, which kicked off its run with $38 million. I do know a lot of early projections said something like $30 million for Once Upon a Time, and even some current reports are predicting that number, but I just have a feeling that between the buzz, the ensemble, the fact that it is about Hollywood, I think that's going to push it over Inglourious Basterds, and that's why I'm going with $40 million for this one this weekend. And now, of course, for number 1, yet again, it's The Lion King. It did make a little more than Beauty and the Beast last weekend, but I still want to look at Beauty and the Beast weekend 2 drop, which was 48.3%. I am keeping in mind that Lion King has more to lose, so I do want to bring it up a little bit, but given the good buzz, that A Cinema score, I'm not bringing it up by much. I think I'm only going to slash its opening profits in half, and that means Lion King could make another $95 million this weekend. Alright guys, it is time for the recap now. The Lion King is my number 1 for the weekend with $95 million. Then it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood taking the 2 spot with $40 million. Spider-Man Far From Home coming in at number 3 with $11 million. Then it's Toy Story 4 at number 4 with $10 million. And then finally, yesterday, rounding out the top 5 yet again with $3.5 million. That's it. That's it for your hospital edition of the box office predictions. You know what to do. Hit the comments below, share your top 5 right there. Go over Fantasy Movie League, lock those lineups. And now, Patreon shoutouts. I'm not skipping it again. I got a very special group here, and they are Kaiser, Caleb, Rosa, Ryan, Kavi, and Ian, you guys are very lucky. You're getting this special edition of Box Office Predictions. So as always, thank you guys so much. And thanks to everyone out there for bearing with me with these box office predictions on the road. I hope you're enjoying them. I think I'll be back in the studio next weekend. So stay tuned for next weekend's Box Office Predictions.